Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
As soon as I went live, we lost him.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh my gosh! That where did you go? Oh, I just watched his Red Bull and milk thing, and oh my god, it's not good.
Of course, as soon as I went live, it's the moment I hit live, he disappeared.
He blue screened as soon as you went.
You there?
Live.
You there?
Yeah?
Oh, there he is.
Skype.
What happened?
It just crashed.
Oh wow.
Great.
Just decided, it's like, hey, I'm just gonna crash.
Well, we
Hold on,
can't
I
see
think-
you.
Oh, you can't?
Nope.
Fantastic. What about now?
Start all that over. There we go.
Yeah.
Did you watch it 3 minutes in?
Yes, I did. Oh my gosh. The fountain of pink. Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure Skype just messed up my audio settings too. Give me a second. Steady microphone, properties, listen, levels. Yeah, see, just jumped it up to 100. Oh, look, and now it's like auto adjusting. Fantastic.
Even though it's not supposed to be.
I hate Skype so much.
Yeah. It's
Damn it. Are you live right now?
Yep, we are live.
Okay. I need to shut down Skype in order for this to not auto.
Okay,
this.
go ahead. I'm
Alright.
just posting the stuff. Gosh. So ridiculous.
yeah. Ever since Microsoft took it over, it's
Like, everything about the lateness of the show today is because of Skype. On all three of our ends. It's like, seriously, like...
yeah. It's always just a little bit different every time you open it. It's always
See,
Not the
man,
same.
come on, Skype. What's your problem?
It doesn't sound bad. I think you'll be fine.
No, but it's messing with my audio recording.
Oh,
So like my audio
geez.
recording is like peaking like crazy because it's automatically adjusting the microphone.
Great.
What a piece of crap. I hate it.
Have you guys tried Google Hangouts?
Yeah.
Is it not
We're
as great?
gonna move to Discord once we get our streaming rig going, but
Mm-hmm. Great, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the Discord app seems to be really fast, like pretty quick. Pretty snappy.
1, 2, 1, 2, and did it again. I don't want to sit here and just ride these levels the whole time.
Okay, do what you gotta do.
Well, I got to figure out why this is doing this. Call you back.
Okay.
So it's safe to say you guys aren't going to be sponsored by Skype or anything.
Yeah. Let's see what the live stream's saying. I'm just gonna take this to the 2x screen for now.
God.
Ooh, I can hear. You there, Matt?
Yeah, I'm here. But I don't know what the hell is going on with Skype.
It's just auto writing your levels. Are you sure
Yeah.
that's not an input thing on
It is
Windows?
not an input thing. It's Skype because when I close down Skype, my levels will stay exactly what I want it to. If I'm not in Skype, then if I start up Skype, then it jumps it to 100% and rides it the whole time. Even though my settings in Skype specifically say, do not adjust my settings.
What if you do it the other way? Maybe it's backwards
Skype
by
is
accident.
literally the worst piece of crap ever. And see, like I can adjust the microphone settings inside of Skype, and it doesn't. It'll adjust it for you guys, but the recording is crap.
What if you change your levels? What if you change your levels on the mic itself?
Test 1, 2. My levels are all the way down.
They're all the way down.
All the way down.
And it's
Here, let's
jacked
turn it
them
all the way up.
Wow.
Test 1, 2. Yeah. See, now it's all the way down, and Skype is taking control of the levels. Hey, anyone listening from Microsoft, you all suck. I hate you all.
Can you install an older version?
No, because the older version that I was using said, "Oh, we're not going to keep supporting this version." Sorry, everyone who's listening.
Is it so it is like super like messing up?
No, every time I talk, like I'm literally gonna have to whisper on the recording. Otherwise, we'll peak the entire time, or I've got to ride my microphone the entire time on my levels and like hold it down.
Oh, hey, I got it. Chris Pretty actually sent me a link to a little video that shows how to stop that.
Yeah, I know. You're supposed to be able to turn off, like let whatever take control of your thing. Yeah, I know. I did that.
It's still doing that.
It's still doing it.
Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Yeah, it was still doing it.
How overmodulated is it? Like,
hold on. Test 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right, we're okay for right now, but it's gonna crap out here soon. So whatever. Let's just do this. If I have to start running,
just keep an eye on it. All right, turn on your video though.
I hate everything. I love most things, especially the Milk and Red Bull challenge.
Oh yeah.
Is there like a compressor or something you can add to your Audition that will do it live?
I don't know if it'll do it live. I know Logic does that, but let's leave it all as is. Let's get going.
All right, let's do it.
Are we rolling everywhere?
I am rolling.
Is everybody rolling?
Peaking every 3 seconds. Yep.
Well, we'll do what we can. Just
I don't know.
Brandon, are you rolling your audio recording device thingy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. All right. I am also recording. Okay, let's do our sync clap. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And the Brograph live. Do you have the live stream deal that you for the chat, Brandon? You good? Okay, we got messages coming in on the stream. Let's see, is all this good? All this good? This is live.
Or I hear double voices. You guys hear echo? Is there echo?
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. Stand by.
Smashy smash smash. No more Slack.
Did that get rid of the double voices?
Grant said, there we go.
Okay.
What was it?
Well, I had the mic input thing on from when we did the stream at the hotel, so. All right, so that's good. Let's get this shared. Good Lord. Some days it's like we just can't get this show going.
Yeah.
I blame Skype mostly.
I blame Skype every time. All right, let's do it.
Hold on. Man, this thing is
Brandon, it's Brandon Clements, right? Or is it Clements? I never know where the emphasis is. Clements, okay.
Yeah, Clements, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like Roger Clemens, but with a
Clements. No, don't say that. You're going to screw me all up.
Yeah.
It's like it is, but it's not.
You know.
When I was interviewing Orestes, like I had to ask him over and over and over again to say his last name, Constantinides, you know, and we went and did the interviews. He goes, "Hey, what's my last name?" I said, "I don't remember."
But you got it right though. So
I did just now, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All
Anyway, all right.
Here we go. Jeez.
What?
What up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Broadcast. I'm Dave.
I'm Matt. Joining us today is Mr. Brandon Clements.
Hey, how's it going?
Brograph is a supplement to our site, Brograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man.
You kind of slurred those last ones.
And we got a lot to talk about today. Brandon's here to talk to us and share his wonderful notes that he took at Siggraph.
Yes.
Because we didn't get to walk around and see anything except for Maxon.
We were working pretty hardcore, you know, and we got a couple of interviews outside of the Maxon showroom floor, you know, but like Brandon was out there. He was hustling. So
Yeah.
we're gonna let him do all the work today.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna sit over here and ride my Skype levels because Skype is terrible.
Yeah, we're having tons of Skype issues. So before the show, every single one of us had a Skype issue. And it's okay, though. We're going to switch to Discord pretty soon. So, like, we've got camera problems,
computer,
microphone problems. We've got, like, I've got a lag on my thing here. It's awful. So I built this new computer. Everything's posting. Everything's working. I haven't installed Windows or anything on it yet, but it's beautiful. I'm going to call it I was actually debating what to call it because we name all of our stuff after Rick and Morty characters. But I went with Squanchy.
I like Squanchy
Because I've got the red and the white fan. So we got a lot to go through today. So we're just going to get right to it. If you want to email us, you can email us brograph@brograph.com. As far as the computer, I guess some people have been asking about the computer and the specs on it. So I should just
tell us
go
about
through
your
that real
computer,
quick.
Dave.
So we were talking about the fact that the new Threadrippers came out, but basically when I looked to see how much money I would actually save if I got a different one, it was only like $70 and it wasn't worth me sending it back. So I just went with what I had, which is fine. Now let me go to my saved parts list and I'll tell you what I got here. So the hardware channel on Slack has been very great and instrumental in helping me with this, along with PC Part Picker because it helps me with the compatibilities. So
and Sage. Let's not dog Sage at all because Sage has basically built every single computer for every single person on the Slack.
True. And he really helped you build yours, which I based mine on, really.
Yeah.
The AMD Threadripper 1900X 3.8 gigahertz 8-core processor is what I went with, which is now down to $107. So that was the price difference.
Wow, yeah.
The Threadripper.
Wait, it's
I'm
now
sorry,
down
$307.
I was about to say
it's down like $70 or something like that. Got a CPU cooler, which was pretty cool. The ASRock X399 motherboard.
Pretty nice.
And let's see, I got 32 gig of Corsair Vengeance LPX 16 gig DDR4 3200 memory. I got myself actually 2 different hard drives. I got an M2 solid state for the main brain of the thing, and I got the 500 gig, and then this isn't what I got here. I actually got the Samsung 860 EVO 1 terabyte for a secondary solid state.
Cool.
Now, I put in a GTX 1060 because I just wanted something.
Yeah.
For now, and just kind of waiting, and we'll talk about that today, of course, about what the options are for these new cards.
Nick Scarcella says, "Wow, we almost have the same build."
Nice.
You must have gone through Sage,
right?
Because we have the same build too.
The Thermaltake Core P3. Now, I always want to call it Thermaltake because it's like an Asian company or whatever. And so I'm assuming, like, when I see a name like that, I'm like, wouldn't that be Thermal Talkie? But apparently it's Thermal Take.
Yeah.
So I was actually surprised. It seems like whatever.
It's taking in the air or pushing out the air.
I don't know.
Taking the thermalness,
right?
The temperature. I don't know.
And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with this EVGA power supply.
Yeah, it's great.
Really, really great. It's a 1200 watt power supply, and the thing about it is that it has a million outputs on it. You know, and it's just so great in that aspect, and it has everything perfectly labeled. Like, this is the best power supply I've ever bought. It was $180, so it was a little more pricey than some, but
yeah,
it's running. I also got some orange fans on it. It's looking pretty dope. So
I couldn't agree more about the Supernova. It's like an amazing product. And EVGA, like, they stand by everything they make. So if there was anything that was going to be wrong with it, you know that you'd be in good hands. So that's a really good. I love that power supply.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about our announcement that we made.
Oh, we're just jumping right in there?
Yeah, we're just going to jump right in there and talk about it. So the Mograph.com, we announced
Mograph.com. If you guys, so it's something that we've been working on. We've been kind of like putting the blueprint together, and now we are finally excited about, like, you know, building it all and putting it out there. So we're working on it right now. And so, yeah, if you guys haven't had a chance, go online, check out Mograph.com. We've had the domain name for a while, like probably about a year and a half. Like, yeah. So, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a big hub for motion designers, and hopefully, the way that I've said it is that we're not out to make money on this endeavor. We're out to make sure that all motion designers and mographers will be successful, and that's my goal.
Exactly. We want it to be a super positive community with tons of encouragement for people, especially if you're new. You know, it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very intimidating to be a new motion designer and see all these great things that people are doing and want to be like, hey guys, here's my new reel, you know, and like, I hope you like it.
I hope you like it, dude. I've been seeing that everywhere. It's so easy to dog on someone, you know. It's easy to see the bad in people's work that they put out there, you know. If you're on the Cinema 4D subreddit or any other place, it's really easy to just like be like, that's crap, you know. But maybe instead of doing that, maybe be more encouraging. I was talking to Nick Campbell about this at Siggraph, and I was like, dude, you were like one of the most positive people out there when it comes to this stuff. And like, almost like, you see Nick Campbell talk about this stuff, and me personally, because I have trust issues, you know. I'm like, what's your angle? What are you doing here? You know. But it really just turns out
everybody has an angle. White Christmas, no. Okay.
It actually just turns out that no, he's actually a genuinely good guy who cares about like helping people out in this industry. And so, you know, we want to do that as well. And so
you get to learn from like all your favorite artists, and we're bringing more people on board, and anybody who's interested needs to sign up. And if you want to get involved in anything, like if you got plugins that you want to sell, you know, if you want to get involved in helping in any way, even if you want to be a teacher, you know, these are paid courses. These are teachers who will be getting paid. So if you want to get involved, go to mograph.com and sign up, because we need 4 more signups right now to hit 1,000.
Yeah, we're super happy. Like the feedback from it has been really positive. You know, like 95% positive.
I love that everybody's into it, and it's going to be a great, positive community. And
really, cool. another thing that we really tried to stress with this is to be very inclusive of both men and women in this industry, trying to create a you know, an even playing field for everyone, and not try to have it be so one-sided. Even though our industry may be a little bit more one-sided towards the male side, we're trying to even it out.
Right.
So that is like number one in our brains right now, that we are trying to be as conscious about as possible. So we got one. There's one.
There you go. So it's going to be, it's going to be next year before this really gets going. We got a lot of stuff that we're working on to make it all happen, and working with the developer and all of this. So again, looking forward to that, and I'm glad everybody's so excited about it. So
yes.
All right. So
can't find the sign up page on the site. Is it down again?
We've been having weird issues with that, but we'll get it fixed.
What? It's like it's weird.
Like sometimes the form disappears, and sometimes you have to like refresh or try another browser.
And
then we put it back, and then it's
there in Chrome. If you're using Firefox, it's so weird. Like sometimes it disappears on Firefox and then it works on Chrome.
Yeah, it's there for me, so I don't know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is weird. Anyway, yeah. Firefox and Chrome. So
anyway, all right, let's talk about Siggraph. We got a lot to talk about.
We do.
And Matt has a heart out, so we're going to talk about as much as we can before he has to leave, basically. With a little bit of time for Beeple's people, because we haven't done that in a long time.
I know. Yeah,
and he's got some really good ones. So let's I guess jump into Ravcock. What's your flavor?
What's your flavor? Yeah, this was a big one, I think, because okay, so first off, I want to give a big shout out to Otoy, because the first day, first off, their booth, way killer, way better than last year. Like the fact that they had Jake there, actually showing off Octane, and they had a ton of cool stuff, and like they had like 8. It was double stacked 4 8K monitor or 8K TVs and stuff. Like it was a huge display, and they had Ariev stuff on it, and Zach Corzine stuff, and who was the other one? Anyway, they had all this stuff on there, and like it was just beautiful. So they really stepped it up. But I was a little pissed the first day. I was like, because they made this big announcement of version 4, and here's what's coming in version 5, and I was like, what the heck is going on? Like we're still on 3.08 or whatever. We don't even have a version 3.07. Yeah. And so what was so funny, I was like, come on, you guys are announcing this stuff, but then the very next day they released the 3.0 or the 4.0 version for C4D, basically the release candidate one. So that subsided me quite a bit, and then I got excited about 5, because we got to see we're not going to be making any money on our Spotlight anymore. Yeah.
Oh, well, I even told Jules, I was like, well, there goes my plugin.
Yeah.
He's like, you had a plugin? I was like, yeah. Oh, well, it's all good. We'll have to make a new cool plugin. So
right. There's always something to fill.
Right.
That that stuff he was showing us
Boom!
in 5.
We just hit it.
All right, we're at 1,000.
Nick Scarcella, you were
Sweet.
You're
right.
1,000.
You're the winner.
You're the
We'll
winner.
Send you a t-shirt. We'll send you a t-shirt. We got t-shirts already. Because when you launch a new product, the first thing you have to do is make the t-shirt.
Right. Who cares about the actual website, right? You know?
We've had the shirt for like a year.
Right. I've been wearing the shirt. I've actually probably, if you go back to previous episodes, I've probably worn the shirt on the podcast.
Yeah, it's an Easter egg.
Yeah. That's why if you're in the chat, my name's... People are like, who's this Mograph guy?
Yeah.
It's me, dude.
All right. Well, I've got a ton of stuff on my list, but here's what I think we should do. Brandon, I think we should go down your list, and if there's anything that you don't cover because your notes are so extensive, then we'll come back and I'll mention it. So just, I guess, I don't know if you have any particular order, if you want to start on anything specific, but let's have that.
Well, I guess the way to kind of frame the conversation of Siggraph, if you haven't been, or if you're not familiar with what the show, actually has going on, there's more than just like the exhibition floor. I mean, the exhibition floor compared to other trade shows is kind of intimate compared to like something like NAB, right? I mean, NAB's show floor is like amazing. It's huge, and the concourse is at Las Vegas. So It's a little bit different vibe at Siggraph. A lot of people who are there are researchers, developers, software gurus, people who are currently working in the industry, and then you have all the different segmented industries like entertainment, architectural, engineering. You have so many different people just in like certain specific fields. So it's really hard to kind of envelop what Siggraph is. It's kind of something you have to experience. And me just walking around and trying to figure out where to go was just pretty daunting this year, because you would just run into so many different people, that I haven't seen in a long time, industry friends, colleagues, people that I don't really get to see face to face with. So, this whole idea of sitting in on talks and courses and lectures and technical papers, you really have to like choose your time wisely, and before you know it. So it's like you want to see, especially with a huge unveilment like what NVIDIA did. Pretty much kind of rocked the whole conference with the new products and stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of bled through so many different talks, and I was kind of like trying to chase that down and trying to understand like, well, as a user who uses this CUDA technology, like what does it mean for me? What does it mean for other people who are using it? Like, what's the price point going to be on the GeForce cards, which we figured out like literally hours after. There were like people that were finding leaks. So
what was they were really only showing off the Quattro cards. They weren't showing off the new RTX 20 series. That came about a week later.
I don't understand why they don't just do all that at once, but
well, I think the way they framed like the actual presentation was we're speaking to professionals, so we're gonna tell you exactly,
be showing off the professional cards.
Quote unquote. I mean, like that's still a debatable thing, especially with like how many people use GeForce cards professionally to create graphics. So their whole like market, the way they split those two products is interesting. But but as soon as the Quadro was unveiled at the keynote, because I wasn't expecting a brand new product or a brand new technology or any of that. We were just expecting, from what my perspective at the conference was, there was an announcement with Autodesk. So that's what I heard through my like Siggraph friends was, oh, you gotta make it out, because dude's gonna be talking about Autodesk stuff, so it's gonna be pertained to entertainment industry or architectural. Like people were trying to guess what they were like partnering with and doing, and of course it was like integration with their software and Arnold and everything else. So that was really cool. It was exciting. So trying to figure that out, and then just going in there not knowing what was happening was an experience I'll probably soon won't forget. It's like pretty amazing. So I guess I'll go through like kind of what I sat through and what I experienced at Siggraph, and I'll just go in chronological order of like my experience. So of course I got there early on Saturday to help with the creative development team, so I was contracted to do some graphics. So I was for Papers Fast Forward, which went amazing. Munu, who led the creative development, did absolutely amazing. She's definitely like one of the best leaders I've been a part of, like in terms of team stuff. So everyone who organizes Siggraph in the different how should I say aspects of the conference, they're all incredible people who are working in the industry. So that was really cool. It was a fun experience. And then after Sunday, I started going to some production sessions. So I sat through an amazing Blade Runner talk because I absolutely love, the new Blade Runner film was amazing. So I got to hear from Double Negative, Frame Store, and MPC London, who all worked on that. MPC London broke down like the digital double of Rachel and like all the intricacies of trying to match, a CG double to something that was shot in the 80s, which was pretty amazing. They literally would recreate shot by shot these different scenes of Rachel, and they were showing that to like the director and DP, of course, was Roger Deakins, and like they couldn't figure out which was digital and which wasn't. So hearing that hearing that was just amazing. And the speaker was fantastic. So seeing that breakdown, RenderMan to actually do some of the stuff, the caustics in the eyes. Yeah, so they went really in depth. So I have like just notes of me just furiously typing on my phone.
You're like Kermit on the typewriter and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was me trying to get his like idea into my notes. So I'm gonna be sharing this in some form or fashion. So I'm sure there's gonna be links somewhere when it's
we'll put it out there.
Yeah, because going through this is just kind of like train of thought and what he was saying. So they did pretty much everything was in Maya and RenderMan to kind of match those two performances. They had 189 blend shapes for the face, 75 different tweaker skin controls, 274 controls just for the face for the whole rig. So there was like rig controls, there's tweakers for skin sliding, and then there was blend shapes. And then they had like all these different eye folds that they were doing for her blinking. So it was like extremely in depth. Like it was insane. It was insane. And then they went into talking about rendering and subsurface scattering, how they helped dial that in. The peach fuzz on her face, like they nailed that. And then they were talking about skin and hair and stuff like that. So it was absolutely amazing. And then Framestore, they talked more about. Theirs was kind of more general about workflow with working with Weta to get these. They actually built miniatures, so they shot these miniatures with Weta on, in New Zealand. They built these little sets. There's this like amazing junkyard scene where he gets where he crashes, and there's like all these ships and stuff. So that was all miniatures. They scanned that with LiDAR and cleaned it up. And then they were talking about how they took reference from like Iceland and all these amazing different kind of locations and brought them together, and also talked about the Vegas scene, like how they rebuilt Vegas. So I have notes in here talking about the hows and the whys, and I think those are the most interesting parts of that. And then Double Negative, they worked on like the actual city itself. So like the Brutalist city and the overhangs and how they actually made the structures. They only had 200 buildings for the entire city, but they made sure those 200 buildings from each angle represented a different silhouette. So like every building was strategically made, which was really awesome. And then they had 12 mega structures, which were these kind of like massive buildings that they would kind of build the entire city around. So they only had 12 of those, which I thought was really interesting. There was a lot of really interesting stuff in that talk, and it was probably the best production session that I've ever been to out of the 8 years of Siggraph, just because they really didn't like they let you see past the curtain. Like they didn't not show anything, like it was all on display. So it was really cool.
I gotta say, this year's Siggraph like was so good.
Yeah.
Like I think it has I think it really has a lot to do with Vancouver and Canada. Like the I don't know, it's just the way the feeling there was just so much nicer than LA a couple years ago. LA just
I don't know. I have there's like two thoughts on that for me. I feel like it was definitely a different vibe than LA. Like I kind of liked the turnout at Maxon a little bit better in LA, honestly.
Really?
I did.
Well, because there were so many locals there,
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I think it was a little bit different clientele, basically. It felt a little different. Although I really, really liked Vancouver in general a lot more. You know, I mean, everything down to like even before like we would open the booth in the morning when we were there. They would just open these little stations with free coffee and stuff for the people. Just all these little things, right? And the city is clean, and it's there was so much. And so there's things I like about both of them.
Yeah. Right.
We'll see what it's like in DC in a few years, but
I have my own thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm pumped about DC. I love DC. It's one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, I just for the conference as a whole, I wonder how that's going to affect turnout and like revenue for the conference. And it's a risk for sure, but
you know, and I think they're doing it a little bit earlier in the year too, like in July or something versus in August.
Yeah. So that will be interesting to see. You guys think the turnout will still be the same as the convention center? I don't even know what it's like.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so
I don't think it really matters where they have it, you know, because people within our industry are gonna go no matter where it's at.
Yeah,
you know, the people who are gonna go, who are gonna fly to Vancouver or fly to LA, are gonna fly to wherever it is.
Yeah, I agree. But I've always heard that LA is like the place where Siggraph thrives, like in terms of attendance.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that as far as attendance goes, because there's so many studios there. You know.
Yeah. It's pretty insane, and just kind of moving along with notes. But I went to a talk, and I've been to this talk every single year of Siggraph that I've went. Like even as a student volunteer, if I had time to break away, I always made sure to go to this talk because it was always the most interesting. They showed the most footage, and the studios really just showed their way of working and the tools that they're working in. So it was all advancements in real-time rendering. So that's the talk that I always go to every year. It's amazing. And this year, this was right before the NVIDIA keynote. So I'm sitting in there. I just kind of walked in on the left side, and I walked right up to the second row because I just wanted to be near the slides, you know, because I knew it was going to be about Unity HDSRP, so the High Definition Scriptable Render Pipeline acronym or whatever.
I know some of those
which
words.
Is a mouth. It's an absolute mouthful, and it's ridiculous, but it's basically Unity's way of moving away from their legacy black box rendering engine, which you couldn't really tweak at all. It was just Unity's renderer, and you couldn't build your own pipe on top of that. So what they've done, in short, is broken this into a scriptable, manageable, modular system where you can, if you want, build your own render engine from like the ground up and set all the rules and do everything you want. So it's pretty amazing to see that, because
I'm gonna build my own Octane.
Well, you know that you know the community the community who, that is behind Unity, that's doing indie games, even studios who are pushing out amazing products, you know, games are going to start sharing some of this stuff, and it's going to cultivate like a really cool way of working, even for people like us in our industry who are maybe just using Unity for installations, maybe not for games, but for just real-time rendering in general. It kind of it opens the pipe up to do some really incredible real-time stuff, you know, because you can tweak the render engine to almost any project. That's the idea, right? I mean, you don't have to have this bloated app. You know, you can just make it really light and fit to your project. So enough about that, but I got to sit behind Sebastian, who is one of the dudes who, basically the dude who is heading up the team in terms of graphics programming. And he came from DICE. So the Frostbite engine and all that technology, which is probably arguably one of the most, I guess, photorealistic types of engines for AAA games. Everyone kind of knows it's beautiful, and it's been used on the Star Wars games and all that stuff. So you have like a brilliant mind who's just like right in front of me, which was pretty amazing. So I got to talk to him just a little bit. Super nice guy.
Did you geek out a lot?
Yeah,
like kind of fangirling.
Yeah, I couldn't help it a little bit. You know, it's hard not to, because you appreciate everything that they do, especially like he is so responsive to forums. Like when and people were starting to move over to the scriptable render pipeline to test, he was so active on the forums. I'm like, how are you working and answering questions? Like it was pretty insane to see. But they've added some amazing features into it, one of which is coming soon is real-time area lights. They already have real-time area lights, but you can't calculate real-time shadows. So that's going to be
like the feature. RTX off and RTX on, right? Is that what we saw?
Well, I mean,
In order to get real-time area lights, I mean, I've heard all you have to do is turn the RTX on, right?
There you go.
That's become such a funny meme, honestly. Like that's been absolutely hilarious to see. But this is like out of context of like RTX. This is just like modern day. Well, I shouldn't say modern day because that includes RTX. This is like current Pascal and before, like rendering with just HD render pipeline and having shadows appear with area lights. Pretty exciting stuff. And I've said I've attended this talk each year, and there's always a new way to approximate that, and it's just crazy to see how they've been building to this point. And I'm hoping to see like shadows with real-time area lights maybe in 2018. But now, as they have if anyone's familiar with how Unity works in the package manager, they basically separate all these different components into a nice UI. So anytime they update it, you can just go to the package manager, say update, and then it'll update it in your project. So the goal is to have these teams working on modular portions of Unity so that it can stay as modern as possible and stay up to date. Cool. So you're not waiting for a new version of Unity. You're waiting for a new package that can come into your project. So that's way faster than shipping like R20 or R20. You know what I mean? Like how software cycles go. Mm-hmm. So there's just I don't even think I could explain some of this stuff because my notes are very much geared towards like why HDRP and like why it's amazing and how you can utilize like the deferred and forward engines. Like
yeah, I know some of those words as well.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because like you can customize each shader and render in different pipes at the same time. So you can have like a deferred scene and like a forward like shader, like a forward rendering shader. So there's all this really crazy cool stuff that they were talking about.
Let me can I shift gears just for a second? Yeah. And just ask you a question, because this is my dilemma. This is where I'm at right now. As someone who uses GPU render engines and who has just built a computer with a brand new shiny 1060 in it as a placeholder, what in the world should I buy?
Are you talking about like
to replace?
To fill up those slots with graphics cards, what should I buy?
Okay, so I would like to interject before you start telling us what we should buy. But in fact,
I don't want to be that guy. I just have a little bit of information.
Here's the thing. You got to see all of this stuff, and I think one of the questions that I keep seeing over and over again in Slack, online, on Facebook groups, and all this other stuff is, do I get something that's already out there? Do I buy a bunch of old 1080s for a good price? Do I get a 2080? Do I wait for like a sweet RTX card? Is it something that's even useful for Octane? Like, there's so many questions. I'm like,
right.
Am I going to be spending too much money? Is it going to be overkill to be getting one of the crazy RTX cards for what I personally do? Like, there's so much. I'm just like, I don't know what I want to do. And
See, I don't know. See, in an ideal world where I have infinite funds, me personally. Well, maybe not infinite, but a fair amount to put towards cards. I would probably I would love to be able to do one of the Quattro cards and then load up the rest of my slots with like 2080 Ti's. I don't know. That's a thought. And then I would love to be able to do the the NV link. Now that you can actually like link those together and
to get the RAM, the VRAM.
The VRAM. Yeah, combine the VRAM. That would be awesome. Yeah,
and I think it really, it's a hard question to answer because you're answering a question with a question. Because it's like, you're asking like, what do you think I should buy? And then I'm gonna respond like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's your what's your focus?
Okay,
like,
Octane. I'm straight up say Octane.
Okay.
I'm gonna be using Octane, maybe the occasional Redshift, but mostly Octane.
Yeah.
Mostly. You got a fresh computer. You get to put whatever you want in it.
And no restrictions on funds and everything.
No restrictions on price to begin with. Let's start with no restrictions.
No restrictions, of course. I think everyone would, if they could, they would go for the Rolls Royce. So it's like you would want to have unlimited like capability currently with hardware right now. So that would be the Quadro 8000, right? Link, and you have a 96 gigabyte frame buffer, which is insane.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't even know the stats on like how many CUDA cores that is, not counting RTX cores, which is going to be measured in gigaarrays. So what is that?
Tell me like, okay, as far as Octane Bench goes, like normally we were measuring everything by CUDA cores. The amount of CUDA cores would, almost whatever. So is this going to improve everything based on
Yeah, that's such an amazing question because it's like
phrases and stuff like
Well, and I mean, I know VRAM is a factor too, but like before all of this happened, we were looking at the possibility of instead of getting a bunch of 1080s, getting one Volta.
Yeah. See, and it's hard to say because there's all these statistics, and it's hard to kind of make a buyer's decision off of like numbers and statistics in terms of like how does that relate to your everyday? How does that relate to like your gains from now? Like is that like a 10 times leap? Is that like an 8 times leap? Can you like build that in on projects? Like how does that work?
We need to start billing these in on projects.
You got to start building them in on projects.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a hardware cost because you're using the hardware to create the images and all that. So, that's a way to structure it in. But, sorry to answer the question.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking. All right. Is Volta still a good option at this point, or
to update to a? Are they going to have a Titan RTX? I mean, I would assume.
Well, I guess the way to answer that is like, what market was the Titan geared towards? It was geared towards high-end gaming, right? That's what they were using it to.
Well, and professional rendering, right?
Yeah. I guess from NVIDIA's perspective, who was the target audience for them? It was probably high-end gamers, right? Like, you want a sick PC, then you're going to have to get this Titan X or Titan V because blah 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 marketing material. But I guess if you just look at the core components of itself and you strip away all the marketing and then the titles and everything, I would say Volta, from what I've experienced at Siggraph, is actually trumped by that one, what was it, Quadro 6000 that was running the real-time reflections demo. So it depends on how you measure it. And, if you really want to get into real-time rendering, like real-time ray tracing, let's say, you want to be out of the gates, you want to be creating amazing projects for that. You do not want to buy a Volta for that because obviously we have brand new hardware to help the heavy lifting on real-time ray tracing. So you would have to go, I guess you would be forced to go with the RTX Quadro in that case.
Okay, what is the lowest end RTX? The one that's like 20. How much is it?
400. Yeah.
The 4,000, right? 4,000, 6,000, 8,000.
I think it's the 5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the price on the lowest end? RTX. It's like 1,900, 2,100.
No, the cheapest one is like 2,400.
2,400.
The 5,000, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the RTX 5,000.
If you had to choose between, let's say, three choices, between that or getting a 2080, let's start with those two. What would be the disadvantage of getting a 2080?
2080 or 2080 Ti?
2080 Ti.
Or 2080 Ti. Yeah, we'll just kind of go with the highest bench of each marketed product, right? Because I mean, the GeForce is geared towards gaming, and the Quadros are geared toward professional workstations, right?
But I'm comparing the lowest Quadro to the highest.
Oh, the lowest Quadro to the highest.
Because that's kind of my price range, right? Like I could spend anywhere from like 800 to $2,000, let's say, somewhere in that range.
Or you could spend $2,400 for three 1080 Ti's
or 4 1080 Ti or however many,
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, do I want to go with some old stuff and just get a whole bunch of power in the box? Do I want to get one of these really expensive ones? Like maybe one of these really expensive ones is better than a 1080, but maybe it's not better than 4 1080s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right at the moment,
That's a pretty serious question. Like that's really interesting because it's like
it's a great question. I can't answer that.
Yeah, exactly. Like in terms of just like buyers, like perspective, I would totally just go with the 2080 Ti's, right? Mm-hmm. And then stack those. But I guess you run into limitations. I believe the NVLink for the 2080 Ti's is only valid on 2, right? Like you can only have 2 cards.
Yes.
Whereas the Quadros,
which you could put 4 cards in there and then NVLink 2 of them. So then you've got like 22 VRAM on each one.
Yeah.
Because I think they're 11 gigs.
Okay. Yeah. So 22. I'm gonna pull up.
Still like
the thing is the projects that we do are not ever so intense to the point of where we have like 40 million polygons. Yeah. Most of the time, we're talking 2 to 10 million polys.
Right. We're also very efficient in our
builds.
Our builds.
Yeah.
Like I've never run into many VRAM problems unless I'm on my laptop.
Yeah. So and this just kind of like light bulb went off. I mean, most of the people that they were talking to at that keynote was basically like, and they showed graphics of this. So it's not just me, but they were literally saying, take your CPU farm and put a server rack here of the Quadros, and let's see how that scales and like what power consumption and everything. So yeah, it totally depends on like what you're doing, what you're creating, how big your frame buffer needs to be. Obviously if you're doing something for feature films, the whole frame buffer of 96 gigs, that's for like people who are working in insane teams and creating stuff with Arnold and that traditional pipe, and what's the benefit of doing CPU versus GPU? So I think that's like geared towards that conversation. But for people who are doing like smaller scale projects, something that you just can't cram that complexity into, I think the 2080 Ti is definitely your best bet from those two perspectives, I guess.
So you think I should? Okay. I don't know. I'm trying so hard to figure out what I want to do. The thing is, I can always get something else later.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm trying to build this thing to be a powerhouse. So maybe for me, it comes down to, do I want to go 2080 or 1080 Ti?
Yeah, I would do 2080.
Yeah.
I would just do 2080. I mean, then you're at the top tier GeForce. You have RTX cores. You have the new Turing architecture. You have all the bells and whistles. And if you have to buy right now, because the way they turn these cards over is pretty insane. I mean, like what we're gonna.
I don't know. I think the new architecture, and the I think it's gonna be. I think it's going to be a significant jump in comparison from the 980 to the 1080.
Yeah.
I think
the
1080 to the 2080.
How much is it again?
That's 10 extra, right? You're just talking one.
How much is the 2080 Ti?
It's MSRP 700, but the Founders Edition is 8, I believe.
800. And when does it come out?
In like a week or so.
Okay.
You can pre-order it now.
Yeah.
See, that really sounds. 800 is not bad.
No.
Because I feel like I could order 2 of those to start, maybe even 3. Put it in there with the 1060, and I would have some pretty serious power for a relatively small amount of money.
Yeah.
In comparison to like I could just buy one RTX, like Quadro or something, so I don't know.
Here's a question. Chris Pretty's bringing this up in the chat. The blower style versus the stackability.
That's yes, that's the problem.
Yeah, because
that's the problem.
The Founders Editions or whatever, Are they slightly bigger? Like, are they taking up 3 slots instead of 2? I'm confused about this.
Yeah.
I did. Let me see. What was that? Was it a 2080 I saw? That was like a 3 slot. I can't remember. Somebody was like, "Oh, this is so wide." I don't remember if it was that or the Quadro, but
Right. Yeah. See, that's a whole nother layer of decision making that you have to come up with. And yeah, I guess just to answer like 1080, 2080, I would rather be with the RTX platform right now. Like if you can swing it, because there's so much that like the RTX platform provides in terms of just like APIs and SDKs, like for cutting edge graphics. Like that's, I mean, you have like MDL and USD support. So I've yet to see like universal scene description affect me personally, but from what I've seen, like of other artists and studios using universal scene description, it seems like a dream. It seems like the actual format that should be taken over for like all interchangeable DCCs. Like, you know, it'd be great if I could get like a USD from someone working in Maya, bring it into C4D to do some type of, you know, effect or finish a shot or whatever, you know.
Right.
You know, FBX, you know, Autodesk has that kind of locked off, and Blender doesn't have FBX because of the whole patent and stuff there.
Right.
So I believe MDL is fully open source now. I could be wrong.
Well, my hang up though, like, okay, so like I'm pretty convinced I wanted 2080 then, but my hang up still, and what they're saying in the chat room as well, is
Y'all
the
keep
blowers.
talking real quick. I'm gonna run to the restroom.
Yeah, the blowers. Yeah,
the blowers, because like I just built this thing. It is an open air case, so that does help. However, if I get 3 of these, I'm going to be cramming them in there, and they're going to be blowing on each other. And so far, you know, maybe these other, you know, they have the third parties, EVGA, all these other people come out, but maybe they'll come out with one with the blower going out the back. But I might have to go water cooled if I'm going to go this route.
Yeah, I'm looking in the chat, like Adam Steele and Chris Pretty, and Chris Leone. Those are the people that I go to for those problems, because I geek out so much on the software and hardware capabilities that, you know, stuff like that just goes over my head, like, and then I'm fucked, like in some way, you know, because
well,
like I'm
Sage is
blowing hot
saying
air.
in the chat room that OEMs are going to make blower style cards. So, you know, Nick Garcella saying waiting for the MSI Seahawk version. Maybe that's what because I mean, if they're all going to be blowing on each other, they're all going to be overheating, and I'm going to have to underclock them or something to keep them stable. And what's the point? I could just get some 1080s and blow out the back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm actually having to get some. I'm just watching the chat, but
yeah,
I have to get a new case for some of my slaves just to be more efficient with the heat, basically blowing around in those cases. So, yeah, that is awesome that you guys brought that up, because that's, I think, one thing that people do not talk about, especially me. I don't really talk about building PCs or what you should buy, what model, what type of fans, all of that stuff, and that's very important. Like, it's very, very important.
And I did notice as well that it still has like DVI or whatever on this version, and that's another issue, because everybody has been having to cut off the, like, unsolder and like cut off these DVIs in order to make their water cool rigs work.
Right.
And it's like, I don't want to do that on a brand new expensive card.
No. But, you know, people like me, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm gonna mess it up. I'm definitely gonna mess it up. So yeah, for the talented, skilled people out there, that's pretty awesome that people are modding to make it work for their purpose. That's pretty awesome.
And that's what kind of like pushes me away from doing the water cool in general too. Is like I see all these people on the Octane Facebook group, and they're talking about, especially like Tom Glimpse. You know, they're like,
that's amazing.
Unsoldering all of this stuff, and then I'm putting on water cool, and I'm like, man, if I screw this up at all, you know, if I make one wrong move, I ruin the card, or God forbid I screw up the water cooling and it leaks all over the computer and ruins the whole thing.
Right.
I'm just like, can somebody make this pre-made? I'm surprised there aren't more pre-made water-cooled solutions out there, but
yeah, me too, actually. But you know, it always goes back to the argument of like the guys who are really, you know, awesome at like creating all the pipes and like making everything really efficient. They'll just, you know, they're always the ones with the solutions.
Right.
So,
well, what about
you know,
you? What are you gonna do?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
Are you gonna wait a little bit or?
Yeah. So personally, I'm still kind of waiting for some cash flow from this year to catch up to even understand what my investments look like for hardware, you know, at the end of the year. So I'm definitely waiting to end of the year to make, because I mean I own 16 of the 980 Ti's, and
jeez,
I'm not gonna just revamp all of that, you know, at once. Yeah. So is it just my main workstation and then, you know, breaking down all the pros and cons there? But, you know, the 980 Ti has served me well for the work that I do. But
yeah, I got 5 of them.
Yeah, it's served me well. I just it's a VRAM thing, and you know, it's something that I need larger frame buffers for projects that are more ambitious.
What is the VRAM on those? I don't even remember now.
6 for me. It's 6.
Oh, it's 6.
Yeah,
which looks just so puny to like some of these other like cards. It's insane.
But then again, you know, I mean, there's like there's the whole, you know, super cheap 1080 Ti's, and it's like you could always get some 2080s later on.
Yeah, but still, like how cheap? How cheap are we talking?
I don't know. What was Gurnge getting them for the other day? Pretty.
I don't know.
Decent
I'm
price,
gonna look it up.
Yeah.
1080 Ti Founders Edition, right?
Yeah.
On
so
eBay right now. See, 615, 550. Okay, there's some 550. Here's one for 405. But that's bidding. Let's do buy it now and see what we got.
Yeah.
So if you have no interest in RTX or any of that, then I would probably take advantage of the price drops right now.
I mean, I do, but
they're still kind of expensive.
But if it's 500 as opposed to 800, like that's really not that big a difference.
I'm not seeing any. Yeah, I'm not seeing any for 500. Like the cheapest one is 550. You know, and who knows how beat up those have been.
Right.
You know
how much mining has been done on them. If they're,
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's an up in the air question. I guess.
Anything under $500 is a good deal. I mean, but still, I would rather spend the extra $300 per card and get some 2080s, because I feel like in the long run, you're gonna get better performance. You may have to wait for the software to catch up, but you're gonna have better performance based on it. So you only get, you know, 3 2080s or 2 2080s versus 3 or 4 1080s. I feel like it's going to be much more valuable to you in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much like with the RTX platform that it's kind of, it makes your head spin. I mean, like the possibilities of what can happen with it. That's what I'm most excited about is optics, the AI, the rasterization, the compute. Like that stuff to me is pretty groundbreaking. But, you know, am I going to take advantage of all that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
It depends on where you are, you know, like
the projects
over the next few years.
The projects and what you're doing, what you're interested in, and where you're real-time ray tracing is like, I did not expect to see that at Siggraph. Like that was pretty insane.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing that at GDC, they made it seem like it was just a demonstration. Like, oh, yep, it can be done, but you're gonna have to have 4 voltas and like all this crazy stuff to make it happen, right?
Right.
And then they just start showing it after Siggraph, especially with the GeForce cards, and you're like, no, this technology is going to be available for everyone, you know, who's buying high-end PC games. RTX is we're already working with all these people who are using it, like in Battlefield 5 and Tomb Raider, and like you see all these examples, and then you start thinking, oh, okay, well, this is probably in arm's reach. Like we may be close to seeing like RTX technology being in Unity or being inside of Unreal like very soon, and start developing and tinkering. So like that to me is like really exciting in the short term. In the long term, I think we'll look back at Siggraph 2018 and be like, oh yeah, remember when that happened? Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. So especially with AI.
This would be a good Slack channel conversation, I think, to moving forward, is get everybody's input on that in the hardware channel and see. And I wanted to also mention the fact that in our Slack, it's been open registration for quite a long time now.
Yes,
we are going to start limiting it a little bit. You can still get in, but we're not doing like a, you don't have to audition or anything. But we are gonna close it within the week, and we are only going to do like once a month open enrollment type thing. Just to kind of keep things. We want to monitor things. We want to keep things a certain way. We kind of have, there's kind of a feel to our Slack channel, and we want to make sure we maintain that, and we just don't have like a big influx of just random people. We want everybody to know each other, and recognize each other. And I think if we had like, I mean, it would be great, but if we did have like 500 people flood into there at the same time, nobody would know each other anymore. So I think to keep that sense of community and the sense that people know each other, we're going to start doing a little bit of limiting. So just if you haven't signed up, this would be the time to do it, because
come join the conversation. It's good conversation.
And speaking of conversation, here's something I wanted to talk about, because besides all the stuff on the floor and
hold on.
new technology.
Okay, so you can't just jump away from Siggraph yet, because
we're not jumping away from Siggraph.
Because I was going to say, we haven't even touched on the new R20 stuff.
No, I know
how much we got to play with it and how incredible it is.
Okay, but quick sidebar.
All right,
because you were not here for this, but this was hands down my favorite moment of Siggraph. And not everything happens on the show floor. And Brandon, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, because my favorite part of the week happened right at the end of the entire thing, Thursday night, right before we went to bed. Do you remember what I'm talking about at the hotel?
Yes, definitely. It was amazing.
Okay.
We're sitting there, and we won't go into all the details of this discussion or whatever, but this is one of those things where you get to know people and you have these kind of conversations in the background and these moments. And there was this moment where we were all sitting at the hotel bar at our hotel and talking and stuff. And Brandon, you had come over, we were chatting, and Rick was there, and he was saying something, and I don't know exactly what he said, but Brandon Parvini was at the bar across the way, and like something Rick said struck a chord with him, and he turned around and like said, well, let me actually tell you something. And he went off on this TED Talk like rant for like 30 minutes while we all sat there with our mouths like dropped. Like it was the most like epic thing we had ever seen.
Yeah. Seriously though.
I have to tell you though, like I met Brandon Parvini like the one of the first nights of the first dinners, and I could listen to that guy talk for hours.
He's
like
a great speaker.
He is one of the most interesting people I have ever met in my entire life. Like I just want to listen to him talk about the industry and about everything. I was so excited, like interviewing him and stuff like that. It was good conversation, and the stuff that he's working on is like great. Super quality.
Brandon, what were you going to say about his rant?
It was just like something that I've wanted to hear for a long time from someone who has used the software and used other software, and like what's happening right now with the cycles of everything, because everything he said was just so ground truth. Like it was just so, and it was presented in a way, like the way he spoke and the way he worded things, and like he was so entertaining to hear him talk. He was funny, but he was also like pinpoint, like sharp on every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're being super glossy about it, but how would you sum up what he was saying? I mean, he was kind of
essentially. Oh, that's funny. Maxon Rick's in the chat right now. What's up, Maxon Rick?
He said. Rick said, "I think I'm going to bed."
Yeah,
and Rick said, and that's when it started a 30+ minute conversation.
Yeah. That's what it was.
But it was just so good. Like, he was essentially, in a nutshell, he went on a rant about what he really, really wants out of R20, or not R20, but moving forward after R20, and why. And it was almost like, it wasn't a lecture. It kind of had a feel of like, no, here's what you guys need to do, but not in a condescending way. No. In a like, I really have faith in this company. But he also said, like, he was just so blown away at how great it was to talk to the engineers and how they listened to him, and like the whole thing. It was just such a moment. It's like, you almost wish you had a video of it, you know?
That's why you go to Siggraph. It's like that, because you can have that face-to-face interaction. And you know, I totally 100% agree with what you just said. Like, it was a really fun conversation. Like, everyone was very much engaged in it, and it was great. Yeah,
dude, he's the man.
He's you can tell he's got a lot of perspective and experience, and I really respect everything that he said, and vice versa. I really respect like where everything is headed with Cinema 4D, and like where they are in the industry, and like the competition, and like how that's stacked up. But because I mean, like, what other software company can you just go and talk to the devs face to face? You can't do that at Autodesk. I mean, you can't do that at Side Effects. I mean, all these other software companies have like a roadmap or agenda, and they don't care, or they don't want to hear about like what the users are experiencing as much as Maxon. I've never seen it like that on that scale. And that's why I was so enthralled with Maxon when I first like went to trade shows, because I was like, this is different. Like, everyone has a voice and everyone's experience is valid. It's like, that's pretty shocking. Whereas, you know, if you were to approach someone from Autodesk, if you don't work at a large studio, then it's like, you don't know what you're talking about or whatever.
Yeah. Here's a funny Maxon versus Autodesk moment that I had. Let's see. The guys over at Autodesk came up to us and they're like, "Hey, no. I needed a Arnold license for Chad Ashley, you know, so that he could show it off and stuff like that."
Yeah.
So I walk over to the Autodesk guys and I was like, "Hey, you know, I'm with Maxon. Can we get an Arnold license for C4D for Chad Ashley?" And they go, "Oh, actually, Chad Ashley needs a license of C4D for us." You know, because he was sure. So I walked over to I needed the MAC address for the copy of Arnold, so I walked over, got the MAC address, and I talked to Rick, and I was like, "Hey, Rick, can we get them a license for C4D?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So he hops on his computer, you know, gets a license for us. He emails it to me. I email it over to them, and then I walk over and I was like, "Hey, cool. Okay, so I got you that license, blah, blah, blah. Can I get the thing of the Arnold one?" He goes, "Yeah, I just sent one over to my sales guys. They'll get to you shortly." And I'm like, "Well, okay."
There's no direct,
I got to go through sales?
Yeah.
Aww.
And that's kind of the thing too, is I should paraphrase.
They did get it to me relatively quickly, but it wasn't about just being able to walk over to someone and say, "Hey, I need this now," and they're like, "Okay," you know. That's one thing that I really like about Maxon. It's like they're very hands-on, and the fact that here's something that like people don't realize. Okay, so Donovan left Maxon to go, you know, pursue other things, and he was the one. If you've presented for Maxon before, he's the one who's kind of giving you the constructive presentation, and he does a great job. He's very thorough. He knows his well. Well, he left. Paul are watching every single presentation. So while with other of that company sitting down criticism, or telling how you should be going about using the tools, like that to me is crazy, that you've got someone so involved and so high up in the chain that he knows this stuff so well. Like, okay, there's a better way to do this.
Right. Yeah,
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's
and as far as the stuff that they come out with for R22, like it was so much fun just to sit back at one of those stations and play with the VDB stuff. I didn't really get a chance to play with Fields much, but I'm like so stoked. It's coming out. When is it coming out? Like the beginning of September?
June or something. I don't know. Maybe next on.
I cannot. I mean, I need a whole day to just sit there and experiment with all the new features. I'm going to schedule that.
Here's what I loved about Siggraph this year. So normally, at least last year, you have you've got the back stations of the booth, and you've got all these people. Okay, Rick says early September. So
early
September. So with normally at Siggraph or NAB, you've got these back stations, and you've got just us just chatting. And occasionally someone will come over and we'll be like, hey, how's it going? Let me show you some of this stuff, But this time you had every single person who was presenting, or like tons of people standing around trying out R20.
Yeah.
Because to me, this is me personally. Maxon brings us along and they take us out to dinners and stuff. Huge release for them. Like, and I kept telling them, I said, dude, the features that you guys added is going to be like just huge. You guys, I kept telling them, I said, you guys are going to make so much money off of this because it is such a good update. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I apologize to the stream people right now, because I know it's glitching out and I cannot fix it right now, but we're trying our best.
Rick said, reminder, this is the last week to renew your MSA or take advantage of the August promo. Buy R19, get R20 free. So if you haven't, I suggest you do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's so worth it. It's so worth it to do that every year, to have that, and for the Cineversity stuff too on top of that.
Oh, right. Yeah. There's a lot.
All right, so let's go back to your notes a little bit. I want to hear more. I know you've got extensive notes, and there's no way we can get to all your notes. But
no.
But what else do you have? Like, if you could go in order of like the coolest things.
Yeah, I won't go into detail, but so we said advancements in real-time rendering, which was led by Unity, and then I had to leave that talk in order to get in line for the keynote and get my little NVIDIA sticker on my badge so I could actually access the talk. So I sadly had to leave part 2 early. There's part 1 in the morning and then part 2 in the afternoon, and it's like, I think each of them are like 3 hours long or something. So part 1 and part 2. So I think you can imagine that with the conversation, if you've been here the whole time with Siggraph and what it's like, your day goes by so fast because you can't run from one convention hall to the next. In order to get a seat or to see what you want to see or talk to who you want to talk to,
right?
Especially if you're on the heels of going to something else. So it's insane. But then after that, let's see. I went to an NVIDIA real-time ray tracing talk. So this was really interesting. It talked about the GDC demo, what that was all about, why they were doing that, and talking about like, how we went from like rasterization and ray tracing to path tracing, and now what does it mean for real-time ray tracing, and will offline and real-time ever be different? Will offline and real-time be different forever, is what they were talking about. That was really interesting, really cool talk. And these are led by, I shouldn't have to say this, but they're led by industry, like people who are doing this and making the moves, and it's pretty amazing. And then high performance ray tracing with optics. So, like what is optics really? Like what is the SDK? What is the API? Like how are developers using that? and then you actually got to hear from Isotropics, who makes Clarice. So it's Clarice. If anyone out there is not familiar, it's more of a production pipeline tool for layout, set dressing, interactive light directing. It's a little bit bigger than like Katana, because like I know Katana, like people are familiar because it's like the Foundry, and you know that's people see that more than Clarice. But Clarice is insane. I have some statistics that were just like, what? It was so crazy. So optics has been integrated into like the latest version of Clarice, and they were getting over 100 FPS, 100 frames per second. I just want to make this clear: 100 frames per second in Clarice with 450,000 geometry. So that's just like not instances, just like 450,000.
What?
Like, geometries.
Tries?
No, just objects. Just objects. 450,000 objects. So that's about 16.8 billion primitives with the Turing architecture. At 16.8 billion, they were getting 60 frames per second. Sorry, I'm like still going through my notes.
Yeah.
4.1 million geometries scattered. So that's like over 100 billion primitives, and they were getting around 16 frames per second. So it's like this tool is made for like if you have a full like environment and you're running a camera through it. Like they were showing these like speeder vehicles coming through, and the camera's like trailing, and you're seeing everything in the scene. It's not fully shaded or anything, but it's like a viewport playback for shot setup and look dev and all that stuff. So yeah, but
it's amazing because like every year you're like, oh wow, I can't believe like how far this has come. Just imagine where it's going to be in 10 years. And then the next year it's kind of almost where you thought it would be in 10 years.
Yeah. So it's
incredible.
Yeah, there's like no rasterization. Everything was fully ray traced, and they could visualize ambient occlusion. So you could clearly, distinctively see like characters on set, foliage, all kinds of stuff. It was amazing. And if you haven't seen Clarice, you should check it out. It's if you're a nerd like me, it's amazing. It's cool software.
Hello, Clarice.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to make that joke, right?
Yeah. I always think about that. And then accelerating Arnold on the GPU with optics. So that was the talk right after that. So I don't know how to dive into this one because I'm sure a lot of people wanted to know what Arnold was like on the show floor at NVIDIA's booth. And when I did the interview, when we were just chatting on the floor, you know, Dave. I hadn't gone over there and looked at it yet. So that was all of that was me coming out of this talk. So the talk and what they had on the floor were two different things.
Oh, okay.
Well, tell us about it.
Was that the Spider-Man thing?
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are really interested in hearing about the Arnold GPU stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the actual talk, like in the course, like the closed off, you had to have the rights to get in talk or whatever. They were going through and breaking down like what that means for them going from CPU to GPU, the trouble with doing that, the limitations of optics right now, you know, their scheduling, like how they're releasing software, the API, like they went into depth about all this stuff. So, and then they're trying to basically make the Arnold GPU explore like the entire, they said they explore the entire tree. So apparently right now on the GPU, it goes far enough, but not as far as like the CPU can go in terms of like path tracing and getting every bit of information.
You're talking about like how many bounces or like how many?
Literally like the structure of the data, like how conceptually how everything is processed in Arnold. Like the CPU can go like crazy down onto. They had this graph, you know, of like the hierarchy of everything. So the GPU could get like pixel perfect, but the CPU actually could go further than what the GPU was doing in terms of like just like the data. So I don't know what that means for the release cycles. Like how far away they are to making that like literally 1-to-1. I have no idea. But
Yeah.
they were talking in programmer language, you know.
Right.
So
I mean,
like,
I understand why they want to make them look the same.
Yeah.
I get that, but I'm almost like, you know what? If you came out with just Arnold GPU and didn't even give me CPU, I would be interested in maybe just going that route. I really feel like once Arnold GPU goes a certain way, that I may really dig deep into it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I have this here in my notes. It's just saying like not everything is supported in every mode. So like they're still working things out. But for them, you know, like Arnold CPU is like the workhorse of like feature films and like all this stuff. So for them to like say, oh yeah, we got a GPU switch, it can't be gimmicky. It's like it's gotta be amazing. Like it's gotta be like houses that are investing all this money into replacing a CPU farm potentially. It needs to work. It needs to be exactly like the CPU. And that as my notes are reflecting on me right now, it's like some of this that I wrote down, I don't even know what it means. Conceptually, you know, the way they talked about it and the way they presented it on the slides is easily understandable than like my text notes here, but it was pretty crazy. So, and then the reason why I say that I hadn't went over to the show floor and seen it, because they literally just had, this is kind of disappointing, but they just had the Spider-Man asset in one pose and a card for the geometry in the background. Like it wasn't scene geometry.
It wasn't?
No, it was just a card. Like if you go back, it was
just like an image on a plane?
On a plane. So the only thing you were looking at was the Spider-Man asset. And you can go back.
Was it? I thought I saw the video.
Well, see, you saw what was in the talk, because what I saw in the talk was like full scene geometry. What they had on the floor was not everything.
I thought I saw a clip of that from the floor, though.
No. And what was on the floor, which is another thing that was disappointing. So what was on the floor, and I talked to this amazing representative. Like the people that work at NVIDIA, they're great people. Like, but you got to understand like the marketing and like what they're told to do and how they're working on like brand new hardware with new drivers and how Arnold, you know, it's like there's so many people playing right now. Like it can't be perfection on the show floor, and I totally get that. And I'm not sad about this at all, because these guys aren't stopping working. Like they're working right now and they're doing amazing things. So it will get there. But the shader that was on the Spider-Man asset was not complex at all by any means. It had a little bit of procedural like bump and a little bit of procedural things happening for roughness and all that junk. Mostly just UDIM textures that I think were 8K that were kind of wrapped together on the asset. I didn't see any animation at all. Like I think he scrubbed the viewport, and it was just like literally like just a really dense polygonal asset that was Spider-Man that was on the booth. Yeah. But there's see the card?
I mean, I see the card, but that's the background, right?
Yeah,
I think that's just the background.
Yeah, but there's no like scene geometry. There's no pipes, and there's no like crazy dense geometry. It's only Spider-Man and a texture.
Okay. I got you.
You see what I mean?
But Spider-Man is actual
Spider-Man is geometry.
Yeah, but
you had me confused. I thought you were saying that
I got
the whole thing is just okay.
No. That was not my intention at all. No. Spider-Man is the only polygonal asset. Everything else is a picture, like just a card for the background. And I thought I was going to see like pipes and everything and get to like move it in. Like, no, it wasn't. It was just.
Okay.
And that could have been an NDA thing. That could have been something that Disney wasn't allowing them to show, and they only had rights for the Spider-Man asset. But it was still kind of disappointing just to walk up there and be like, oh, it's only a character. Yeah. You know, when they were like boasting and the marketing kind of side of it. And so that was kind of a bummer. But the other thing that they were doing too was the UI in Maya, the way the guy showed me the render settings, because I was kind of like drilling him on it. Yeah. And when I walked away, he's like, I think I remember you from last year. So it's like I think I'm getting this weird reputation where no one knows what I do, but I'm like drilling them every year on this stuff, and they're like, "Who is this guy? Like, why does he care? He's not affiliated with any studio or company." And but anyways, so I had him open the render settings, and I looked at it, and the only checkbox in there on the render settings was optics denoiser, and the task manager to like see like, and it was running fully on the GPU, and the CPU like you know was not doing a lot. So what was happening there on the booth, he would hit the switch, it would go to GPU, and then it would denoise like after a few samples were traced. So I was like, well, can you stop the optics denoiser so I can just let the scene, you know, happen? Like just I want to see it like render. And yeah, you could turn it off. There's like a drop down in the Maya render view where you could just switch from the denoise beauty to like the actual beauty. And I mean, yeah, it was working, you know. So you know, but what they were showing was like they would move the camera and they were like, beautiful image. They'd move the camera and beautiful image. But if you look closely, it was all just smushy, like smeared, denoised algorithm that was happening later after the process. So, but I don't know what to take away from that. I mean, I just thought it was a little too, what's the word? They were hyping it, I guess. They were hyping it really big.
Yeah, it's still just too early to really get a good idea of what it's going to be, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. And I was talking to Chad about it too, Chad Ashley about it, and he kind of had the same, like, experience. So, you know, not to speak for him, but that's kind of what the mentality on the showroom floor was. It was just like, oh, look, it's a Spider-Man character. But if you went to the other kiosk, they were showing the RTX, which was like, you know, inside of Unreal in an executable, and that was actually really cool. So I feel like that was more of a better impression than like seeing Arnold kind of working with an asset in Maya. I don't know. Yeah. Just my take on it, but I would have rather seen a full scene and like got an understanding of like how is this going to affect me like as an artist kind of thing. But it was more of like a demo of like, yeah, we got it running on the GPU. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else you got?
And then after that, I went to a talk that was in one of the, I think it was the West building. So it wasn't in the main building, but it was in the West building. It was Unity and Substance. A lot of different companies had kind of rented out those rooms.
Ooh.
I didn't go
the new Substance stuff. Did you get a chance to look at that?
I was not in on the Substance talk.
Subsurface scattering. And what's the other thing?
I can't remember the other thing.
The deal where it can almost take like
Alchemist.
Oh, what was it? Yeah.
Alchemist.
Alchemist.
We saw that software running, which is pretty amazing. And they have a talk of it
what all was that about again? Remind me.
Where you could take the colors, right, from something and apply it to something you're building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like almost like color corrected or something to match the scene that you're in, right?
Well, this tool is basically a way to speed up like automation, like real world capture, procedural node-based texturing. Like it's a more refined package where you can kind of bring all these things in at once. And what they were demonstrating was you could bring in a photograph and you could actually take colors from that and include it into your textures that you were building. Like, you know, the textures that you were building inside a Alchemist. So you could pull reference from things, and it was allowing the Alchemist software to basically like compute, oh, you want these colors here. I'm not. Go check it out on YouTube. They have it up under Algorithmics YouTube, and it's pretty spectacular though. So yeah, it's a way of kind of bringing automation, photo captures, procedural built nodal structures, textures, all into one place so that you can kind of speed up the process and create some amazing looking images and textures. The coolest thing I think that Alchemist has, like in the short term, like in the short run, is like being able to take a photograph and it being able to like create textures based on that photograph, like creating normals and like all that stuff. Like that's really exciting. Like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
cool. I love where they're going, and I love the plugins and everything. It's just they're definitely going to be the tool to use.
For authoring
everything.
Yeah, for authoring materials and textures and shaders and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. They're in it really deep right now, and it's just really cool to see this new product. I can't wait to play with it. I think it's going to be great.
And it's so easy to use.
Oh yeah. I mean, all their software is so
super
friendly.
cake.
Yeah, it's so friendly, and it's not overcomplicated. I love that about them. They present it in probably, on par with Max on how they present their tools. Like I've always thought Cinema 4D does a great job of like giving you the software and not holding your hand. You can almost just jump in and kind of figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
That's how they kind of present their software.
See,
too.
Maxon just needs to buy Algorithmic, right? Oh man, that'd be killer. Paul, if you're listening right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Just partner with them. Just partner with them. They can have their own problems and worry with their own things. But
right.
There you go.
Just include them on everything because people love it, and they're building an amazing community. So
and it's inexpensive. Like the software is super inexpensive.
Yeah, so it's like indie, game studio that software because it's just easy and fun to use, and it should be.
Yeah.
So, and after that, I didn't mention the talk I actually sat in on. So I didn't go to the stuff.
Right.
I wish I could have made it. I sat in on a Unity talk. It was titled "Stunning Visuals in Unity." And I was kind of disappointed. It was basically something that they've already presented in YouTube videos in person. So it was nothing
new.
Nothing new. It was literally just like in-person run through of everything they've already talked about online, which they can do whatever they want. They bought the room out, so title it whatever you want. Go ahead, like it's great. But I've already seen all your stuff. It's like for someone who's that up to date on what they're doing, it was just a rehash.
Right.
And then I did sit through Oat Studios talk on the Atom stuff, which, if you kept up with the Atom series, are you guys familiar with the?
I don't think so.
So
not me personally.
So Unity had this in-house team that created Book of the Dead recently, but the project before that was Atom, and it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like filmmaking in Unity, basically 101.
Right.
Like you guys can do this kind of thing. And that was a while ago when they released that, but Neil Blomkamp picked up where they left off and created 2 more episodes, and they also created better production tools to go into Unity, which one of what came out of that was a better revamped Alembic system, like Alembic plugin, basically, which is going to be picked up and supported by Unity, and they talked about how that's going in the package manager, so we're going to get full support for that, which is really great. But then they just kind of broke down the shots. They had used vanilla Unity, like the legacy renderer, and so I thought maybe they would be like a modern day take on some of the Atom stuff that was released, but it was kind of the same thing mixed with Cinemachine and some of the other stuff. So I didn't feel like I was disappointed in the talk, but it was a lot of the same things that was released in the blog and released in videos and things like that. But it was just really cool to see some of those guys in person, like see them talk about their project that they worked so hard on. So that was pretty cool because you got to see the scenes, and they flew the camera around, all the photogrammetry they took on set, and how they tied that together with Cinemachine and Timeline, which, if you guys aren't familiar with Cinemachine or Timeline and some of the stuff they're doing there with procedural camera systems, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Procedural camera systems?
Yeah, so basically you can have like these different camera targets throughout your scene in Unity, and things like noise and where to look at, all that stuff. It's all kind of procedural, so you're just linking to objects in your manager. So you can set up like these really amazing cinematic shots in seconds in Unity, and then string them together with Timeline. It's almost like an editing feature.
Right.
like sequencer in Unreal, if you're familiar with that, and then you can blend those clips together so that the cameras smoothly blend from one to the other. So if you don't want a hard cut on the timeline, and they do like a cross dissolve kind of thing, and they transform. It's just really cool stuff.
It's kind of like camera morph in Cinema 4D,
but on steroids.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because with camera morph, you're lerping from one position to the other with like soft curves and things. But
right.
With this, it's a little more tactile. It's like you can do a lot more with it. They released a bunch of really cool shorts with it. So the Lexus car commercial that was shown in the HD render pipeline, that was all Cinemachine. It was built in 3 days. So it's like they had a team of like 3 people who worked on this car commercial, quote unquote, and it was done in 3 days. Used Cinemachine, Unity Asset Store stuff, and it looks like a car commercial. And it's just like their way of speeding up the production process and their own take on it with real-time rendering. So yeah, I think it's very valid, and seeing real-time live, which is the next kind of thing here, most of which was reality capture, performance capture, virtual production. All of that was pretty much real-time live in a nutshell. Like you had MPC, I believe it was MPC Vancouver. No, I don't know which branch of MPC, but they were using Unity to do virtual production. So they had like physical dolly sliders on stage with capture, so they could recording in Unity. And on the flip side, they did the same thing with Unreal Engine and the guys at ILM X Labs, and they were using Sequencer to do real-time performance capture. So it's virtual production in the best way that you could think about it.
That's awesome. Cool.
It was amazing in real time on a stage with 2,500. Stuff is really interesting to me. Like, obviously we're always looking for the most efficient way to iterate and reach a better goal in a short amount of time. So some people can argue that real time is going to help you get there faster, but I don't know. It's to be determined, I guess.
I mean, the real time stuff helps. We put together this terrible makeshift real time thing years ago. It was like Brograph experiment number 3 or something, and it was so complicated and choppy, but it kind of worked. Yeah. You know? But when you're on set, and you're trying to do green screen stuff. I mean, that's very helpful to have some sort of frame of reference for later on. Yeah. You know.
And Toy's been talking about Brigade and that technology and how real-time path tracing can be a thing for games, and that's another rabbit hole. But it's the allure and the holy grail is always going to be real time. Like you don't have to wait for rendering, and so does offline and real time ever converge at some point? And
see, that's been my thought on that. Will it ever get to a point where it's all one and the same, or is it one of those things where the real time is going to get better and better, but then rendering is always going to be that much better? Yeah. Or is there going to be a point where it doesn't matter anymore?
Yeah. Visually, I don't think it matters to like 90% of the people. They just love the look or the feel that you're producing, like my clients don't care if I'm using Unity or Cinema 4D or whatever. Yeah. So it's like from a consumer, just a normie. Can we use normie?
A normie. From
a normie perspective, it's just like, it looks great. It's amazing. Cutting edge graphics. But for people who are in the science of things, I can say from one of the most proficient graphics programmer on the planet, he was like, no, it won't be the same. And
like
he was
VFX.
At one of the talks.
VFX. You want to do ultra realistic looking VFX for movies.
Yeah.
Will there ever be a point where you can just design this stuff and then it's pretty much a real-time bake out to QuickTime or something, or whatever you're going to use for editing?
I would say no, because obviously we're getting closer and closer to like true photorealism, and the science and the physics behind all of that, especially if you're talking about fire or thermodynamics and like all these things. Like you can always go further. Like you could always research more and compute more, do more. So I think offline will always stay like offline, especially for films, especially if you're talking about like light interactions and dynamics. And I don't know. how can you compute that on the fly? Like, how can you simulate all of these incredible variables, like on a movie scale? It's like, can you ever make think you could ever do destruction and all that stuff on a real virtual set?
Well, no, I guess. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But let's just say I'm working on a. Let's just say I'm working on a shot, not necessarily something on set. Let's just say it's 20, 30 years in the future, and I am building a VFX shot, and I build some buildings, and I'm doing some comp work or something like that. Will we get to the point where when I finish building that stuff, let's say it's Octane for Unity or something in the future, where I could use that instead of going into Cinema 4D and doing an actual render at like a frame a minute, where I could just kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll get to a point where it's so close. It's like, okay, maybe render is technically better.
I think real,
you know.
Oh, sorry, you cut off
to a point where, you know, maybe when I'm using Unity, it's good enough to do what I want to do for a film.
Yeah. I think the approximations will narrow the gap of like photorealism, but I think you're always going to have, like, if you want to compute it and you want it to be like physically accurate and you want it to look amazing, or, you know, amazing is subjective, right? I mean, like,
right.
Some of this stuff is all subjective, but I think there will always be research and there will always be offline computations to physically recreate the real world, like one-to-one.
Right.
And I think there will always be approximations to get close in real time, you know?
Well, I feel like that's what Jules is trying to do, you know, with his recreation of the holodeck. He's making it so physically based. You know, it's so much based on physics that, you know, when you look at Otoy, I don't know, 20, 30 years in the future, are we going to be to the point where we're literally simulating atoms? Like, how far is this going to go? Right. You know?
Yeah. I think it goes as far as immersion will take it, like either one singular experience or like people in a whole room experiencing this holodeck or whatever. Like, I think it will go as far as the immersive, you know, objective needs it to go. Like, if you need to simulate atoms or whatever, then like maybe it can. But I think for like lack of a better term, just things looking real, like,
molecules should be good enough for that, right?
Right. Yeah. No, it's like
you don't need atoms.
It's like you're taking a sledgehammer to a nail right now. It's like in the conversation, because it's like, I don't know.
Maybe we're living inside a graphics card right now. I mean, maybe we are in.
How many Kubernetes are controlling my decisions?
Right. We get really existential on the podcast. Maybe we don't talk about CG anymore. We just go. This is an existential podcast. But yeah, the
Sage said the RTX is on.
The RTX is definitely on. Yeah.
Chad Ashley says hi. He's in the chat.
Oh, awesome.
What's up,
Chad?
We should probably. I got about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I've found out that when I talk with, you know, people amongst yourselves, like against this stuff, it never stops. Like, we never stop talking about it. Yeah. There's never an end to it. There's never like we figured it out. Like, you know, it goes on.
All right.
We're gonna get Brandon Parvini on the show, and then it's just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Oh
jeez.
Yeah. Just put me in a room with anyone from Siggraph, and it's like.
Right.
Yeah, you can cut it up into seasons.
Well, let's do this because we've got a couple of emails and Beeple's people. Is there anything major that we haven't hit so far in your notes that you want to make sure you talk about? Or
I think there's a lot of people asking about, is RTX going to be used for Octane? And it's like, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be leveraged. Like,
I agree.
That hardware. I mean, obviously, we can.
Jules said that, I think.
Yeah. So I think the numbers themselves, what is it, like 3.2 billion rays a second on the Quadro 6000 compared to 400 million rays on the P6000. So it's like, I mean, you're getting into numerical things here, but the short answer is like, yeah, it will.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. You're using hardware to like ray trace and traverse rays through a scene. Like that's pretty crazy, you know? And then you have all the tensor cores and AI and shader compute, and you know, there's 4 processors on this card. So I think a lot of people don't realize that there's 4 different processors on this card. It's crazy. So yeah.
Well, anything else from your notes before we get to the Beeple?
I'll share them with you guys, and we'll post them probably somewhere in a description or like an easy way, or maybe on Mograph.
Yeah.
Just, you know, take it for what it is. It's my perspective of things that I'm just jotting down. So
right.
It's not going to be a textbook on all this stuff, but it's going to be, you know, just what I experienced. So,
right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's do this. Let's get out our Beeple viewer of choice, because it's that time. We haven't done a Beeple's People in a while, so I had to go through, and there were some really good ones.
Please tell me you're doing
dough. Of course I'm doing dough.
Okay, good.
That'll be the last one.
All right.
That's epic. But let's see. Go to your Beeple viewer of choice. I'm using Twitter, and let's see. The first one we're going to is July 31st, year of our Lord 2018. And this one is called Disneyland 2072. I've got to find it in my...
Are we going all with the... Sorry, I've been really good about not asking what the date is. What is it?
2018.
Sorry, you froze. I didn't hear you.
July 31st, year of our Lord 2018.
Oh,
sorry
Disneyland
about the
2072?
2072, yes.
Okay.
2072. That was July 31st. And there were so many good ones. But and I'm sorry for the freezes on the stream. The new system is almost up and running, and we're going to have a lot better stream at that point. So
yes,
maybe even 4K if we can. I don't know. All right, so Disneyland. This is another one of the cargo shipping container things.
Yeah, he's got the shipping containers. He's got the telephone pole. You got your Beeple person. You know,
yeah. He looks sad. He looks very sad.
Yeah,
look at him.
He's sad he has to go to Disneyland. Or
is he sad because it's not like the original Disneyland, the back of the day? He's kind of down. He's like remembering the good old days.
Maybe.
Of what Disneyland used to be.
Is it even a dude? I'm not sure if it's a dude.
I mean, you never know.
The person.
Z is looking at Disneyland.
Right.
And is upset about the fact that Disneyland used to be so cool and now it's a shipping container. If you look in the background there, you can see the Ghetto Blaster. He's got the Ghetto Blaster inside Disneyland. Is that all it is? It's just an empty thing.
Well, okay. So you've been to Disneyland, right? Or Disney World?
Right. Yeah.
Right. You know how you go under the you go through the little tunnel
threshold thing
where where the train is. You know, so I think this is to enter Disneyland, of course.
I want to know what the inside of this looks like, though.
I know.
All right, Mike.
Well, if you go to July 20th, 2018, you could probably see that's the one called Woke Poo.
Oh yeah,
I think we did that one.
We did do Woke Poo.
So yeah,
Woke.
Or is that the 20th?
Yeah.
There was another one that I saw. Gosh, I'm going so far back. There was another. Okay, here's Woke Poo.
Yeah.
But there was another one I saw where he had the what's the name of the snowman from Frozen? Yeah,
Olaf,
somewhere
really?
in here I saw that in a post, and I didn't know where that had come from because I didn't think I had seen that as a daily.
Yeah, I don't think that's a daily.
I don't remember
seeing Olaf as a daily.
I saw a little icon of something that had Olaf in it. I don't know what it was. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. This is because somebody else did this. That's why. Let me open this up. We'll see. This is by Rollink_. who did a recreation, but with Olaf and like Legos or something. So maybe that's all it
funny.
is. You just go in and just a bunch of the characters on these little
Woke
head things
Olaf.
with legs.
That's funny.
Wokeloff. All right, let's go to another one. Let's do August 8th, and that's going to be Emoji Warfare.
August 8th?
Yeah.
Mine says human element.
I'm sorry, August 10th.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, of course you got to choose this one.
Well, of course I do. That's why I had another one, and I was like, no, got to do the eggplant.
Oh my gosh.
Got to do the eggplant just for the Slack.
And I saw this and I was like, oh man, because the Slack channel knows how much that I hate the eggplant emoji. Like it's just.
Oh yeah.
And you see the signs in the background.
Yeah, those are hilarious.
That's like.
Yeah, with the drops on them and stuff.
So messed up. And the hand, the fist, it's like, okay, all right. It's funny.
Are eggplants in the future? Are they?
Nah, it's just more a part of the emoji warfare.
But with the emoji wars, like, what would this be as a weapon? Is this some sort of like super bomb?
I don't know. I'm not even gonna speculate.
I mean, they have American flags. That's what's weird. They have American
that is
flags.
Interesting. That is interesting.
So that's really kind of
okay. I know what this is.
Okay.
This is basically a okay, so remember how Trump wanted to have his big
the military parade.
The military parade.
Okay.
That's what this is. This is the military parade for Trump saying, I have the biggest eggplant.
That's a really good insight because
I bet you honestly that is probably what it is.
That is a great insight. Because when you have these parades, it is a penis measuring contest.
Yes.
Honestly, like that's what it is. Like that's why it's a show of your force.
Yeah.
And so
now that I've analyzed it a bit, I
appropriate.
don't hate it so much. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe if you put it in that perspective, as far as like us not thinking about, our story and start thinking about like everyday, our everyday life, these whole emoji warfare things could be just like the ridiculousness of our current, government situation where like,
or just society in general.
Right. Where we're just looking at, we're treating politics like, like emojis. Yeah. Like a joke,
Okay. All right. No, I like the theory. It's pretty good. I guess. Let's go to the last one, which is August 25th, and we have to do this. We had to do this one because it is called Doe.
Right.
Oh, I do like the Space Ape one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Space Ape was pretty
good. There's so many good ones, but like we're so far behind. Okay. Doe. This is Homer, and his eyeball is falling out. And he did do an animated version of this.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday.
Snap.
Yeah, here it is right here.
Well, let me go back.
Man. And of course, at the end, you hear him say Doe or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, dude, Beeple is so good. Like, he is so much more than these everydays. Like, yes, he created the everyday. Like, everyone knows him for his everydays, but it's like only Beeple. I don't know. That video is good. The video is good, know? And it's like, you can see people creating these everydays and stuff like that are basically imitating Beeple, but go the extra step, because that's good stuff right there.
How am I going to work this into the novel?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, actually, no, he is owned by Disney now, right? Technically,
yeah.
So he could be in Disneyland. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. Because I know you got a heart out. So I wanted to quickly go to these emails because I think, Brandon, you might have some good answers for some of these, especially this first one is from Mark, who says, question for the podcast. I have a question about EXRs that I hope you might be able to answer. I use Octane mostly for stills, and I see a lot of people recommend using 32-bit EXR. I'm familiar with EXR as a retoucher and what it does and what its benefits are. The bit I can't seem to find a straight answer for is that it outputs 72 dpi whereas print usually requires 300 dpi. Is it as simple as resizing in Photoshop to desired output specs? This would affect pixel dimensions, right? I hope you can clear this up for me on your podcast.
It's a great question.
I didn't hear the question. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry.
It's okay. When you output in Cinema 4D, you output to 72 dpi,
right?
But you can change that.
Yes.
I guess so. The question is, he was asking about Photoshop and whether you just resize in Photoshop to the desired specs. I mean, obviously that's not going to change anything. You can technically scale it up and it will be 300 dpi. But
yeah, I mean,
Raid
Zeros in the chat says DPI doesn't matter. Change the DPI and then resize it back to its original size.
Change the DPI where though?
In Photoshop. Or
Photoshop?
Or, I guess. I don't know.
Because that's always been something that's been a little bit sketch to me, like that I've been a little confused on. It's like, because sometimes I feel like I change DPI in Cinema 4D and I don't see a difference.
Yeah.
Raid Zero's in here. He might have a good answer for this too.
Yeah. Just to add to the conversation, one of my first jobs in the graphics industry was right when I graduated high school. I got a job at a print like making kind of place. Like they did like vinyls and they had websites for all these different products, and so I would do like Illustrator, Photoshop work, to do whatever people wanted designed, and I only worked there for like one summer for a year before I went to college. But it's so interesting because like if you're doing print work and DPI is very important, I would just bake it into the desired resolution and whatever you're using in Cinema 4D, right? I mean, you would just.
Okay,
hold on.
Sage says if you change the DPI in C4D but don't change the image size, it's going to be the same. Rick Barrett, Max on Rick says set the correct pixel dimension for the DPI you want. DPI is just a flag in the image that's supported by some formats but not others.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So I'm trying to string my thoughts together maybe on this, but like, when we sent it out to printers and stuff, like that was very important. Like, I guess that flag, like having the DPI to send it to a printer was like, or a laser cutter or not a laser cutter, like an actual cutter.
Yeah.
That was important. So okay. I don't know if EXRs are really meant to use for print and stuff. I would probably do TIFF.
Yeah, anytime I rendered out for print, I always rendered out in TIFF format.
Yeah.
So I would always. So I was doing like 15 inches by 15 inches, 300 DPI, TIFF. Like, and I would render it exactly like that. So set my dimensions 15 inches by 15 inches, 300 DPI in Cinema, and render out that way.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. It was like DPI was always like for physical measurements for me. Like when you start talking about pixels and DPI, my brain doesn't like process that as well as like physical like dimensions of like a postmark thing or a letter thing or like a huge vinyl banner sign. It's like those are physical measurements for me and using it with printers. So that's about as far as I can go into that.
I got 7 minutes till I gotta walk out the door.
Okay. Yeah. And Ray Zero says he will go over this in his course on Mograph.com.
Yes.
So
if you haven't had a chance to sign up, feel free to go sign up at Mograph.com.
Okay. Jay Thompson, he says, hope you had a good time at Siggraph. Would love to go someday. I wanted to let you know that I'm hosting a motion design meetup / talk type thingy on the 4th of September in London with speakers Stephen Emerson and Golden Wolf. I know Stephen Emerson. What did Stephen Emerson do?
I don't know.
I know I've seen Stephen's work. Okay, so go to meetup.com/London Motion for that. And I wanted to make sure that we talked about that now because I know
Golden Wolf as well.
Plan for that, and Golden Wolf.
Oh man, that's gonna be good.
Yeah,
that's gonna be good.
So we'll put the link to that in the show notes as well, so you can check that out if you're there. It says we rarely do talks, but this should be proper good. I would really appreciate it mentioned on your show. get the word out. Also, if you guys would like to sponsor or contribute something for a prize in the raffle, I'm sure attendees would love that. So we'll get in touch with you and we'll figure that out.
We'll throw out some Mograph.com t-shirts.
We'll be streaming on that night on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/London Motion. So if you can't make it out there, you can watch it live. All the best later, bros. And we have some other stuff as well that I think we are going to save until the next show, because I know you're running out of time and you got to get to pick up the kid. Pick up the kiddo.
He's in school now, so I don't get to keep him at daycare until 5 p.m. when I decide to finally go pick him up.
All right, cool. Well, we're gonna get out of here, Brandon. Thank you so much for being on. We love picking your brain, because you are not just a graphics guy. You are like a techie.
You're a guru,
guy,
man.
Not just like motion graphics, like everything in the industry.
Oh, well, it's not me. It's literally all the other people I talk to and have conversations with. So I'm in the Slack channel. So, if there's something you want to talk about, by all means, I'm not a guru. I'm very much in still the process of learning and figuring it out. And I love getting further into software stuff and to actual computer science stuff. So I feel like that's where all of the juicy, meaty stuff is at. So
that's the thing, is your computer science angle on this. It's really helpful. And I don't know how you keep all of this stuff in your brain, because I can barely keep just the motion graphics part in my brain. Yeah. So we really appreciate you going through your notes and talking to us about it. And we love hanging out, man.
Maybe we could share those on Slack or something, or I don't know, wherever you want. Just let me know after the show, and we'll post them.
Yeah, we'll get that taken care of. I'll make sure that we have a link to that for everybody. So you can rate us on iTunes, leave a review. You can subscribe to us on your podcatcher of choice. It helps get our ratings up there. Subscribe to our newsletter. Don't forget to go to mograph.com and sign up for more information. Hopefully we're going to send out a little primer in the near future once we get that organized.
Start teasing some new functionality and stuff like that. So make sure to look out for there.
Got a lot of plans, short-term and long-term, so we'll be disclosing some of that information. You can say you've been there, done that, got the T-shirt with the No Brograph, No Mograph T, the Paul Babb, Fuel the Babb 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. The limited edition Gate and D. Simone shirt, which we are going to stop selling soon, like for reals. For reals. Yes. So make sure you get one of those. And, of course, the Render Things shirt, which I'm wearing right now. Render Things.
Sweet.
And we got a hoodie as well. And there might be a Node Commander shirt floating around there somewhere if you're in the Slack.
Sign up for the Slack. There might be a Node Commander one coming out soon.
Look for that Node Commander so you can wear that to half res. And we're really looking forward to half res as well. That's coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We leave 2 weeks from tomorrow. So. And, of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Brograph.com, and Mograph.com.
Yep.
Check us out there.
Awesome.
So we're going to get out of here. Till next week, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And I'm Brandon. Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
Later, bros. All right, save as... Hey, everybody online. Oh my gosh. I bought some of this flavor stuff for my my water. Caffeine. I didn't realize how much I put in there. I'm shaking right now.
Oh man. That sounds like me this morning. I went to a coffee shop, the top floor, and then there's a place called Please and Thank You. It's on the bottom, and it's they have amazing coffee and cookies and stuff. And anyways, I went in there and got a chai tea with 2 shots of espresso, and I was just sitting in the meeting shaking, just shaking. Terrible.
All right, I'm out. I gotta go pick up my kid.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Campbell was in the Facebook feed.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
All right, man.
I can see that. So.
Brandon, thank you so much.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Y'all pack up those WAV files and send them to me.
However, right now.
Okay, cool.
All right, later.
All right, see ya.
All right, dude.